So in Learning Objective A, they're going to have us use this new graph to evaluate sine and cosine. So let me show you how you might do this with these new graphs versus the unit circle. So if we look at it, we know up here this is a sine function, so the graph of this is y equals the sine of x. Now they want us to evaluate the sine of x when it equals the square root of 2 over 2. Notice where the square root of 2 over 2 is in relation to this equation. It's actually in the place of the y value. So what they're telling me is this is the y value on my new graph. So if I go to this new graph and look at the y values, which go from 1 to negative 1, if I find the value of the square root of 2 over 2, which is approximately 0.707, so I'm going to go up here and look for a y of 0.707, which is probably about right there. And I'm going to cut over and see when it hits the graph. It hits the graph there and there. If I were to go down on the graph, I can actually see at what angles that would happen. Now, this isn't the most detailed graph, but here's what I can tell. Between 0 and 90 is 45, so it looks like this happens at 45 degrees. It's also going to happen right here between the 90 and 180. It also happens at 135 degrees. There's infinitely more areas it would happen because if I wanted to, I could technically take this line and go backwards and find these over here too at this value and this value. So you can use this graph to find the answers just as you could the unit circle. Now let's look at this cosine example. This here is the graph of y equals the cosine of x. Again, they want us to find when is the cosine of x equal to negative 1. Notice this negative 1 is in the place of where the y was on this graph. So really what they're telling me is look when y is negative 1. So I'm going to go to the graph. Y is negative 1 right here. So I'm going to go down and go over. It happens there, and it happens here. So where does that happen? It happens at 180 and negative 180. So my answers here would be those corresponding angles. Or if they wanted it in radians, that's just pi and negative pi. Now I want to show you how you could have done those two examples again with the unit circle. That's totally fine. Let's look at this one. When is the sine of x equal to the square root of 2 over 2? Remember, the sine is the y value, so this is the ordered pair we're looking for. If you look for this ordered pair, we're going to notice the square root of 2 over 2 for y is right here, and it's also going to be right here. What angles does that happen at? 45 and 135, which were the two answers we got on the previous graph. Okay, let's look at the cosine. When is the cosine of x, or the x value, negative 1? So we're looking for ordered pairs where the x is negative 1. If you scroll around, you're going to see that happen right here. And that happens at the angle of 180 degrees. And that's where we get the answer from. Now the nice thing about the cosine graph we saw on the previous slide, though, is they actually showed us going around this circle more than just one time. They went backwards, they went a few times, so we could actually see more than just one answer. Because remember, on the graph on the previous slide, we also saw it cross at negative 180, which would make sense because that's going backwards on the unit circle would land at negative 180.